If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe. That's quite a quote, isn't it?
It really is. And coming from Nikola Tesla, it makes you stop and think.
Definitely. We know him for AC, radio, remote control,
Right.
big inventions. But then he drops this. 3, 6, 9 is the key to understanding the universe.
Right. And it wasn't just a throwaway line for him, it seems.
So let's dive right in. When Tesla died back in '43, the FBI, well, they moved fast.
They certainly did. Seized all his research notes, papers, everything.
And ever since, there's been all this speculation, especially about his ideas on vibration, energy, and this 369 code.
And you know, what's interesting is how some of these ideas, which might have sounded purely mystical back then, are sort of finding echoes in modern science.
How so?
Well, particularly in quantum physics. There's this growing understanding, or maybe a rediscovery, that math isn't just descriptive, it might actually be fundamental to how reality itself is structured.
You mean the universe actually runs on mathematical patterns?
That's the direction some thinking is going, yeah. We see these incredible patterns everywhere, from the incredibly small to the cosmic scale. It suggests an underlying order.
Okay, so this 369 thing, maybe it wasn't just, some personal numerical belief. Maybe it's a window into that vibrational nature of reality.
That's the question we're exploring, moving it from this idea of a mystical code to something that might actually have links to physics, to geometry, even ancient wisdom traditions.
So the mission for this deep dive then is what? To try and peek into those lost notes, maybe?
Well, we can't exactly do that, but we can explore what we do know, trace the origins of this idea, try to understand how Tesla thought it mapped vibrational laws.
And see if it has any relevance today, like for technology or even consciousness.
Exactly. It's about trying to grasp this potential cosmic code and maybe learn something fundamental about reality itself.
Okay, so where did this fixation on 3, 6, and 9 even start for Tesla? We know the famous story about the lightning storm in Serbia.
Right, sparking his lifelong fascination with electricity. And he later created artificial lightning, which is just incredible.
But there was another side to him, wasn't there? Less the inventor, more the mystic. Or philosopher.
That's a good way to put it. He wasn't just an engineer, he was deeply interested in philosophy, particularly Pythagorean ideas.
The idea that numbers are the language of the universe.
Precisely. He truly seemed to believe that numbers weren't just tools, but the actual foundation of reality. And his notes mention 3, 6, and 9 repeatedly.
He called them keys to the universe.
Yeah, and it's not like he invented this idea out of thin air. You see similar concepts in ancient Pythagoreanism, the Hermetic tradition. This idea of number is law.
Like numbers holding some deeper meaning or power.
Exactly. Think about the Hermetic text, the emphasis on cosmic principles reflected in numbers.
Which brings us back to 1943. Tesla dies, the FBI sweeps in. 80 boxes of stuff.
80 boxes. And while some material eventually came out, there are persistent rumors, even accounts from his family, like his nephew.
What did his nephew say?
He mentions specific writings on cosmic energy and numerical frequencies that seem to just vanish after the FBI took custody.
Which just fuels the fire, doesn't it? Or what was in those notes?
It makes it tricky because Tesla famously said he worked things out in his mind. He didn't always write everything down meticulously.
Frustrating. But his biographer, John O'Neill, he suggested Tesla had found a whole new physics, right?
He did. O'Neill believed Tesla's work centered on vibration, resonance, harmonics, with 369 being the absolute core.
And we land back at that quote. If you knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, it keeps drawing you back in.
It really does. So to understand it, we can't just look at the numbers like in school math. We need to explore that Hermetic Pythagorean view.
Numbers as vibrations, universal patterns.
Something like that. It's a philosophy where numbers reveal fundamental truths about how the cosmos is structured and operates. It's about harmony, relationships.
Okay, so how do we start to unpack the 369 code itself? Is there a system to it?
There seems to be. A key concept is the digital root.
Digital root. Okay, what's that?
It's simple, really. You take any number, add its digits together. If the result has more than one digit, you add those digits. You keep going until you get a single digit 1 through 9.
Ah, okay, so like 25 becomes 2 plus 5 equals 7, and 147 becomes 1 plus 4 plus 7, 12, then 1 plus 2 equals 3.
Exactly. And when you apply this to numbers, especially sequentially, interesting patterns show up.
Patterns, like what?
Well, you see numbers falling into cycles. There's a 147 cycle. If you keep adding 3 digitally rooted, you get 147, 147.
Okay.
And there's a 258 cycle. Add 3 again, digitally rooted. 258, 258.
And what about 3, 6, and 9? Are they a cycle?
That's where it gets unique. 3, 6, and 9 behave differently. They seem to represent something else, almost like a different dimension or governing principle in this system.
Huh. And the number 9 specifically, you mentioned it has special properties.
It really does mathematically. Take any number, multiply it by 9, find the digital root of the result.
Okay, like 7 times 9 is 63. 6 plus 3 is 9.
Try another. 15 times 9 is 135. 1 plus 3 plus 5 is 9.
Wow. Always 9.
Always 9. And if you add 9 to any number, the digital root doesn't change. Like the digital root of 5 is 5. Add 9, you get 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. See?
It stays the same. So 9 is like a constant, or a null field in a way.
That's a good way to think about it. It seems to represent completion, or maybe something beyond the cycles of 147 and 258. Tesla certainly saw it that way.
So how did Tesla interpret these? 3, 6, and 9 weren't just numbers.
Not just numbers, he saw them as principles. 3 represented energy creation, radiation, the initial spark.
Okay, like outward energy?
Sort of. And 6 represented balance, harmony, the structuring principle, maybe the material world's equilibrium.
And 9?
9 was the highest. Cycle completion, transformation, maybe even ascension to a higher level or returning to the source.
So putting it together, understanding the material world, maybe 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 is one thing. Understanding energy, frequency, vibration is another. But understanding 3, 6, 9, that's the ultimate key.
That seems to capture the essence of his thinking, yeah. It was central to everything for him.
And he actually used this in his work. It wasn't just philosophy.
Oh, absolutely. Look at his 3-phase AC system. The 3 isn't accidental.
Right.
And his work on Earth's resonant frequency, he calculated it around 6 hertz, remarkably close to the Schumann resonance we know today. The number 6 pops up again.
And his energy towers, Ward and Cliff.
Reports suggest the very proportions, the harmonics he was trying to tap into, were based on these 3-6-9 relationships. He was engineering with these principles.
That experiment with the oscillator in his lab.
Yeah.
The one that nearly shook the building down.
The 1898 experiment, yes, a small device, but he tuned it to frequencies, multiples, harmonics, very likely derived from this 3-6-9 understanding. He created resonance so powerful it threatened the structure.
That's incredible control over vibration.
It shows it wasn't abstract for him. 3-6-9 was a practical tool for manipulating energy, calculating resonance, designing fields. It was both philosophy and applied science.
So this system, it's pointing towards something fundamental about vibration, energy, and how things actually take form.
That seems to be the implication. It connects with that old Hermetic idea, everything vibrates.
Which modern physics basically agrees with now, right? Matter is just vibrating energy fields.
Pretty much, yes. Tesla seems to have grasped this intuitively and experimentally, and maybe found the mathematical pattern behind it.
You mentioned different dimensions to this system. Let's explore those. First, as a mathematical expression of cosmic vibrational patterns.
Right. The idea is that natural processes, vibrational phenomena, they tend to unfold in phases that mirror these numbers. Creation or initiation associated with 3.
Like things starting.
Exactly. Then stabilization, balance, finding structure associated with 6.
Things settling into form.
You could say that. And finally, transformation, completion, moving to a new state linked to 9.
It suggests a kind of underlying mathematical rhythm to the universe.
It does. It reminds me a bit of David Bohm's implicate order, this idea of a deeper, interconnected reality from which our physical world unfolds, possibly according to harmonic mathematical principles.
Okay, and the second dimension. The key to energy transformation and information transfer.
This links directly to his wireless energy work. He focused on frequencies that were multiples of 3, 6, 9. He believed these were the most efficient for transmission, creating resonance.
Like hitting the right note to make something vibrate?
Exactly. Mathematically, these numbers often define resonant conditions in wave equations. It's fascinating to think he might have intuitively touched on principles we're now exploring in quantum information theory, about how information itself propagates.
Wow. Then there's the connection to secret geometry and form.
This is really beautiful. Think about basic shapes. The triangle has 3 sides, the hexagon 6 sides, the 9-pointed star or enneagram.
Found in nature too, right? Crystal structures, honeycombs.
All the time. Snowflakes often have hexagonal symmetry. 6, biological growth patterns, planetary orbits, even galaxies sometimes show spiral arms related to these geometries. Tesla saw form itself as crystallized vibration, organized by these 3, 6 to 9 laws.
Like energy taking shape according to mathematical rules.
Yes, which sounds a lot like modern ideas in morphogenetics or complex systems theory, how complex patterns emerge from simple rules.
And the link to consciousness. That's maybe the most mind-bending part.
It is. Tesla seemed to believe 369 weren't just about physical energy, but frequencies that connect consciousness and matter. He talked about the brain being a receiver.
Resonating with universal vibration.
Precisely. It echoes ideas like the observer effect in quantum mechanics, the idea that consciousness plays a role. And you have things like the Global Consciousness Project, looking for correlations between world events and random systems, hinting at a collective consciousness field.
It's a big leap, but Tesla seemed convinced.
He did. And what's striking is how this 369 pattern shows up elsewhere, historically.
You mean other cultures knew about this?
It appears so. Ancient Egypt, 3 realms, 6 for harmony, Mot, 9 for transcendence, ancient India, the Trimurti of Brahma, creator 3, Vishnu, preserver 6, Shiva, destroyer, transformer 9.
Wow. China too?
Taoism. 3 powers, heaven, earth, humanity 3, 6 directions, space 6, 9 heavens, celestial realms 9. Even the Greek Pythagoreans revered 3, 6, and 9 for specific mathematical and philosophical reasons.
So Tesla might have been rediscovering something ancient and universal.
It's a compelling possibility. He was interested in Egyptian and Vedic traditions, so he might have seen the connections himself.
It really frames 369 as this potential unifying framework. Physics, energy, form, consciousness, all linked. No wonder it felt important.
And it's not just history, this stuff is actually finding resonance now in modern science.
Okay, like where? Back to quantum physics.
Yes. The whole field theory view of reality as vibrating fields aligns well, but more specifically, researchers sometimes stumble upon these ratios. That MIT study in 2019 on quantum phase transitions.
What did they find?
They found symmetries, critical points in the system that showed relationships best described by 3.6.9 ratios. They called it unexpected. Maybe not so unexpected if Tesla was onto something.
That's a wild. What about energy tech? Is wireless power making a comeback?
There's definitely progress. Places like KAIST and MIT are working on resonant coupling for wireless charging, getting more efficient over distance. It's based on the resonance principles Tesla pioneered.
And the more fringe stuff. LENR, zero-point energy.
Some researchers in those areas are experimenting with specific frequency patterns, harmonics. And yes, some of those frequencies align surprisingly well with multiples or combinations related to 3, 6, and 9.
And neuroscience. Consciousness.
Well, look at brainwaves. Theta, meditation, creativity, is often around 3 to 7 hertz. Alpha, relaxed focus, 8 to 12 hertz. Beta, active thinking, 15-30 hertz. See the harmonic relationship. It's not exact, but the ratios are suggestive of a 3.6.9 underlying pattern.
Oh, and the Global Consciousness Project, IONS. They see patterns related to these numbers too.
Their data sometimes suggests anomalies or coherence effects clustering around frequencies or timings that could be interpreted through a 369 lens. It's early days, very speculative, but intriguing.
So it's not just theory. People are actually using this.
In some fields, yes. Sound healing, for instance. Frequencies like 396 hertz, 639 hertz, 963 hertz, often called solfeggio frequencies, are used for therapeutic effects. They're directly derived from this kind of numerical pattern.
Do they work?
Anecdotally, many people report benefits, relaxation, clarity. Rigorous science is still catching up, but the interest is growing.
And beyond healing.
Think about design. Architecture, music, art. Proportions based on these ratios often just feel more harmonious, more aesthetically pleasing. It suggests an innate human resonance.
We could even use the pattern consciously, like in problem solving.
Potentially, think of a process. Initiate, create, 3, develop, balance, 6, complete, transform, 9. It's a holistic framework. Or even understanding shifts in our own awareness through this mathematical lens.
It really brings it down to a practical level. But it's also important to remember Tesla's warning, right? About science needing humanity.
Absolutely. Science detached from humanity will only bring disaster. A crucial reminder, especially when exploring potentially powerful knowledge.
So as we wrap up this 369 code, it points to a universe that's maybe more harmonious, more ordered than we usually think.
It certainly suggests that possibility. Tesla comes across as this incredible observer who tapped into a pattern, maybe ancient, maybe universal, that science is only now beginning to glimpse again.
It's like 369 is a metaphor, a mathematical language for the universe's vibration.
A language that could potentially integrate matter, energy, form, information, even consciousness. It challenges us to think more holistically.
And especially now, with things like quantum entanglement showing how connected everything is.
Exactly. Tesla's work feels incredibly relevant when he said, "The future belongs to those who know how to dance in harmony with nature."
Maybe that harmony has a mathematical rhythm, like 369.
That's the profound implication. It suggests the path forward needs both scientific rigor and intuitive wisdom.
We need to analyze, but also be open to the bigger patterns, the connections.
Yes. See 369 not just as numbers, but as pointers. Math bridging matter and consciousness, vibration explaining energy and form, harmony guiding development.
So the challenge for us, for our listeners, is to start noticing. Look for these patterns.
Observe in nature, music, your own thoughts, the stars. See if you can spot these nodes of creation. 3, balance 6, transformation 9. Where does energy flow? Where does consciousness resonate?
Maybe the universe's secrets aren't hidden, just written in a simple code we need to learn to read.
Waiting for those who look with both intellect and heart, perhaps.
It's been fascinating to explore this.
It really has. And this journey of exploring ancient wisdom and modern science, looking for these hidden connections, well, it's ongoing.
We definitely encourage everyone listening to join us, become part of this knowledge-seeking community. There's so much more to uncover.
Absolutely. Keep questioning, keep exploring those truths that might just change how we see everything.
Because, like Tesla believed, maybe we're here not just to exist, but to unravel the mysteries, experience the miracle, and develop, well, true cosmic consciousness.
And maybe, just maybe, 369 is one of the first keys on that path.
If you found this deep dive into Tesla's code interesting and you want to explore more topics like this where science, mystery, and consciousness meet, definitely hit that subscribe button.
We'd love to have you along for future explorations. There's always more to learn.